All right, so you landed an interview for Bridge Construction Supervisor.
That's a pretty awesome job title, right?
It really is. And it comes with a lot of responsibility. We're here to help you nail that interview.
We're going to use RoleCatcher's insights to give you a deep dive on what it takes to impress those hiring managers.
Think of us as your interview prep team, guiding you through the toughest questions. Let's start with one that seems easy, but is super important. What motivated you to become a Bridge Construction Supervisor? You can't just say, I like bridges, right?
Definitely not. You have to show them you're passionate about this field. What was it about bridges that sparked your interest? Was it their size, the engineering challenges, or the impact they have connecting communities? RoleCatcher emphasizes that a genuine connection is key here.
And don't be afraid to make it personal.
I agree.
Did a childhood memory, like maybe crossing the Golden Gate Bridge, inspire you? Did you spend your summers building bridges with your family? Those stories will make you stand out.
They really will. Those personal touches show you're authentic and passionate, which is so important for a leadership role. And this is your chance to highlight those qualifications. Did you get a degree in civil engineering? Let them know.
Don't forget those certifications either. A PE, a CCM, they show you're serious about this.
Yeah.
But what if your background is a bit different? Maybe you were a project manager on smaller construction projects. How do you connect that experience to this role?
That's where RoleCatcher's AI feedback comes in. It can help you draw those connections. Maybe you managed budgets, dealt with subcontractors, or even resolved dispute skills that are all super relevant to this role.
So it's like having a career coach in your back pocket, helping you tailor your answers.
Okay, let's move on to a question about, well, actually getting things done. How do you ensure that construction work is completed on time and within budget? We all know construction projects have a certain reputation.
Right. Things happen. Bad weather, materials not showing up, you name it. This question is about showing them you can handle those unexpected bumps in the road. So it's not just about knowing how to use a Gantt chart or mentioning the critical path method. It's about how you've actually used those tools to deal with real-life challenges.
Exactly. Have you ever had to make a tough call to keep a project on track, like rearranging tasks, negotiating with a supplier, or even pulling an all-nighter with your team?
Those are the stories that show them you're dedicated and a problem solver, which are some of the key traits RoleCatcher points out in their guide. But let's be real. Construction sites can be a pressure cooker.
Definitely.
Tensions can run high with deadlines and unexpected problems. Which brings us to, how do you handle conflicts or difficult situations on a construction site? I think I'd freeze up if I had to deal with a disagreement between a subcontractor and an engineer. How do you even begin to answer that?
Well, it's all about staying calm and remembering that communication is key. Think back to what RoleCatcher emphasizes. Clear and open communication. It's not just what you say, but how you say it.
So you're saying active listening is important, making sure everyone feels heard before you try to come up with a solution.
You got it. It's not about playing the referee. The goal is to find a win-win situation, even if it takes a bit of compromise. RoleCatcher actually gives a great example of this. Remember the one about the concrete pour that got delayed because of an issue with a subcontractor?
Oh yeah, the one where the supervisor didn't just get mad and start quoting rules.
Yeah.
They actually sat down with the subcontractor to figure out what was causing the delay and found a solution together to get the project back on track.
Exactly. That kind of real-life example is going to make your answer stand out. Now, speaking of real-life examples, let's talk about something that's all about the details. Quality control. When they ask you, how do you ensure that construction work meets quality standards and regulatory requirements, quote, quote, try to resist the urge to just rattle off a list of codes and regulations.
Right, like I've got the entire building code memorized front to back, but I'm guessing they want more than that.
Yeah, they want to see that you understand the why behind all those rules and the importance of sweating the small stuff. RoleCatcher actually compares it to a surgeon following protocols in the operating room. It's not just about checking boxes, but about building something that's safe and will last.
So instead of just saying you follow the rules, you could talk about a time when you caught a potential problem early on, like a mistake in the blueprints or a material that wasn't good enough.
Now you're getting it. And don't forget about good documentation. Keeping detailed records shows you're committed to quality and accountability, things that are highly valued in this field.
It's like saying, see, I've got the proof. This bridge is built to stand the test of time. Okay, let's switch gears for a second. This next question can be a curveball. Can you describe a time when you had to make a difficult decision on a construction site? This one feels less about technical skills and more about your judgment.
You're right on the money. It's a classic behavioral interview question meant to see how you make decisions under pressure. Remember what RoleCatcher says. Proactive problem solving is key.
What would be a good example to use for this type of question?
Think back to a time you had to make a tough call, maybe one that involved weighing things like safety, budget, and schedule. It doesn't have to be a situation where lives were at stake.
Right, you don't need to invent a story about how you single-handedly stopped a bridge from collapsing.
Exactly. Maybe you had to decide whether to stop a concrete pour because bad weather was moving in. You knew it would put you behind schedule, but you also understood the risks involved in continuing.
Okay, I can see how that would be tough. You've got the pressure of a deadline and then a potential safety hazard. How do you even start to figure out what to do?
This is where you walk them through your decision-making process. Did you talk to your team and get their input? Did you check the weather reports, review the safety guidelines, maybe even call the concrete supplier to get their expert opinion?
So you're showing them you didn't just make a random guess, that you were thorough.
Exactly. And don't forget to tell them the outcome. Did your decision work out? Did you learn a lesson, even if things didn't go perfectly?
It's all about showing them how you think critically and handle being under pressure, which, let's face it, is a big part of being a bridge construction supervisor. Speaking of big parts of the job, we got to talk about safety. It's obviously essential on any site, but even more so when you're building a bridge, right?
100%.
So when they ask, how do you ensure that construction work is performed safely? It's not enough to just know the OSHA regulations.
You're absolutely right. This is your chance to show you go above and beyond just following the rules. Remember how RoleCatcher talked about building a culture of safety? You want to create an environment where everyone feels responsible for their safety and the safety of those around them.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do you actually create that kind of culture?
It's a few things working together. You need to have clear safety protocols and hold regular safety meetings, but it goes deeper than that.
Okay, give me the details.
It's about being a role model. If you always wear your hard hat and safety glasses, even when just walking around the site, it sends a strong message. And don't forget to acknowledge and reward safe behaviors.
Like giving out a safety superstar award or something.
Exactly. Even just publicly thanking someone for consistently following safety procedures can really reinforce how important it is.
I like that. It shows you care about your team's well-being, not just getting the job done. Now let's shift gears and talk about something that never stops changing in the construction industry: technology.
Technology is completely changing how we design, build, and maintain bridges these days, and that's why you'll often hear this in an interview. How do you stay up to date with the latest trends and technologies in bridge construction?
I can see how that question might make some people nervous. New tools and techniques are coming out all the time. How can you possibly keep up, let alone show a potential employer that you know your stuff?
It all starts with genuine curiosity and wanting to stay ahead of the game.
Right, what you learn in school can only take you so far in a field like this, right?
Exactly. So how do you stay in the loop? Subscribing to industry magazines is a good start. Things like Engineering News Record or Construction Today.
It's like the fashion magazine for bridge builders.
Haha, I like that. But seriously, knowing about the latest trends, new materials, and innovative construction methods is crucial.
Absolutely. And it's more than just reading articles, isn't it? What about conferences and workshops?
Those are fantastic for professional development. Attending something like the International Bridge Conference or the World Bridge Congress gives you the chance to connect with other people in the industry, learn about cutting-edge research, and even get some hands-on experience with new technologies.
Networking, knowledge, hands-on experience sounds like a win-win-win. But those conferences can be expensive. Are there more budget-friendly options for staying up to date?
For sure. There are tons of online resources that offer amazing insights. Websites like the American Society of Civil Engineers Civil Engineering Source, or even LinkedIn groups about bridge construction, often have webinars, white papers, and discussions about all the latest trends.
So no excuses for falling behind. We've covered a lot here, but I feel like we're just scratching the surface of what it takes to be a successful bridge construction supervisor.
You're right, there's always more to learn. But remember, preparation is key. Get to know those common interview questions, think about your own experiences, and use RoleCatcher to help you put together answers that showcase your skills and passion.
And don't forget about all the awesome AI tools that RoleCatcher offers. They can help you make your resume perfect for specific job descriptions, practice your answers, and even get personalized feedback.
Exactly. Think of RoleCatcher as your secret weapon to nail that interview. We've covered so much in part 2.
We have, but don't go anywhere yet. we've got even more helpful advice coming up for you in part 3 of our Bridge Construction Supervisor Interview Deep Dive.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're wrapping up with the final part of our crash course on how to ace that Bridge Construction Supervisor interview.
That's right. We're talking about those final details that really make you shine.
And speaking of shining, let's talk about the questions that really put you in the spotlight, those curveballs. Like, can you tell us about a time when you had to make a difficult decision on a construction site?
Yes. The dreaded behavioral question. It's not just about what you did, it's about how you got there, how you made that decision. They're looking for clues about your judgment, your problem-solving process, how you lead when things get tough.
So it's less about telling a heroic story about saving the day and more about showing them you can think on your feet.
Exactly. Choose a situation that was genuinely challenging, where there wasn't a clear-cut answer. Maybe you had to balance safety concerns with budgetary limits or deal with a crucial material supplier suddenly going off the grid.
Oh man, just thinking about those situations makes me nervous. So say I'm in that position facing a difficult choice. What's the best way to answer this kind of question without rambling on and on?
Structure is key here. RoleCatcher recommends using the STAR method. That's situation, task, action, result. It's like you're building a bridge with your words, each part supporting the next.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
Start by setting the scene, describing the situation. Briefly explain the project, the challenge you faced, who else was involved. Then outline the task you were given. What were you responsible for? What goal were you trying to achieve?
Got it. Set the stage and lay out the objective. Then what?
Then comes the action. This is where you really shine. Explain the steps you took to tackle that challenge. Did you consult with experts, collect data, explore different options, be specific, show them you're not just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks.
And finally, the result. Did your decision save the day? Did you learn something important, even if everything didn't go exactly to plan?
You got it. The result doesn't have to be a perfect victory, but it should show that you're able to learn and grow from tough situations. Remember, being a good leader means always being willing to learn.
Speaking of great leadership, let's talk about everyone's favorite topic, safety.
Right.
It's obviously crucial on every construction site, but it feels even more important when we're talking about bridges.
Absolutely. Safety is non-negotiable. It's the foundation of every successful project.
So when they ask, how do you ensure that construction work is performed safely, what are they hoping to hear?
They want to see that you get it, that it's not just about following a list of rules. It's about building a culture of safety where everyone feels responsible for themselves and for those around them.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do you actually do that? Do you have everyone hold hands and sing Kumbaya every morning?
Well, a little team bonding never hurt anyone. But it's a bit more involved than that. RoleCatcher highlights a multifaceted approach. It starts with communication. Make sure everyone knows the safety protocols and, most importantly, why those rules are in place.
So no more because I said so when it comes to safety.
Exactly. Explain the risks, the consequences if things aren't done right. And remember, your actions speak louder than words. If you're always prioritizing safety, wearing your PPE, doing thorough risk assessments, it sets the tone for everyone else.
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
100%. And never underestimate the power of positive reinforcement. Notice and appreciate safe behavior, even the small things.
It's amazing what a little appreciation can do. All right, before we wrap up, I want to hit on one last question, one that often trips people up.
Let me guess. How do you stay up to date with the latest trends and technologies in bridge construction?
You read my mind. It's a tough one because things change so fast.
For sure. Bridge construction is being revolutionized by tech, from new materials to fancy design software to even robotics. But don't panic. The important thing is to show them you're curious, engaged, and committed to always learning.
How do you do that without just spitting out a bunch of industry jargon?
Get specific. Talk about particular publications you follow, like Engineering News Record or Modern Steel Construction. Mention conferences you've attended or even online courses you've taken to improve your skills.
And don't be afraid to geek out a little. Let your excitement show. Maybe talk about a new design software you're learning or a cool presentation you saw about using drones for bridge inspections.
Yes, passion is contagious, and showing your enthusiasm for keeping your finger on the pulse of new advancements is huge.
Well, that brings us to the end of our Bridge Construction Supervisor Interview Deep Dive. We've gone over a lot, from showing your passion for bridges to tackling those tricky behavioral questions to proving you're a safety pro.
Remember, preparation is key. Review those common interview questions, reflect on your experiences, and use RoleCatcher to craft answers that highlight your skills and passion.
And don't forget about RoleCatcher's AI-powered tools. They can be a game changer when it comes to perfecting your resume, practicing your answers, and getting personalized feedback. It's like having an interview coach in your pocket.
You've got this. Go out there and build your way to success.
That's a wrap on the deep dive. We hope you feel confident and prepared to rock that interview. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep aiming for those dream careers.